P.O.W.E.R, a really cool card game. We talked to PK from P.O.W.E.R.
Yep, he gave me a quick demo of the tactical-based card game. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully you guys do too.
That's it?
Yeah.
He gave us mats too to play the game.
They're nice.
PK Toretto. I am the designer and founder of P.O.W.E.R. This is Packs of War, each rank. What we wanted to do is fill a niche that I wasn't finding. This is about 2009. I wanted a modern military card game. So I went around for about 6 months to my FLGSs and they didn't really have one. I wanted really modern military units, but I wanted an elegant and portable game. So as you can see here, we have 2 battle mats. That's not needed to play the game, but they're for avid players. We have 6 different types of units. As you can see on this reference card here, we have infantry, supply, tanks, artillery, close air support, or helicopters, and defense. Of those, we have a non-collectible card game where we have 48 gameplay cards. It's also a deck building game, and it's a tactical game. And when I say tactical, I mean that the cards have movement and range. Of course, they have attack and defense as well, but when you do attack, you need to see which units each card can attack. So there's a 6-way mechanic. For instance, when you have a card that is a sole purpose card like the Stinger Sam here, it can only hit helicopters. That's a Stinger Sam missile. It's not going to hit tanks. Whereas the tanks cannot hit helicopters. So when you're deck building and you're looking at your cards, each card has a valid target icon bar on the bottom. Regardless of the theme, our claim to fame is what we call the build queue. And again, we want it to be elegant. We wanted it so that the richest player didn't win, therefore a non-collectible card game. We also didn't want the luckiest player to win, so we didn't want die rolls or chits or something in our pocket. So how do you get your units into the playing field? We call it the build queue. Think of an assembly line that's manufacturing your forces. It's very much like an RTS mechanic, StarCraft, Civilization, EVE, Homeworld, etc. So simply, any face down card, I'm going to flip it over, I'm going to look in the upper left-hand corner, and it's going to have a BQ number, so then I'm going to put it down into that BQ pile. So this BQ3, I flip from here, and then it goes here. If I flip another face down card, it's going to say BQ2, I'm going to put it down onto that BQ2. Now every turn, these are going to go down. This is going to go down 1, this is going to go down 1 until they come into the battlefield. Now what that does is that I get to see the strategy of the other player just as much as he sees mine. So for instance, right now that helicopter is going to be out the next turn, and I may use the best SAM in the game, I flip it over, but it's a BQ4. So it goes all the way up here to my BQ4, and that's gonna denote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then a supply that's 6 turns away. So when I bring this out, the opponent sees it and knows that's gonna be that number of turns away, and that helicopter is gonna have a field day until this comes out. So you sort of see what's coming down the pike, and it gives a different urgency to that helicopter because now he sees that SAM being built. We have 5 different variants of play. For the private and corporal games, we have pre-constructed packs or pre-cons. We made a painstaking effort to make all of those balanced. So when you play infantry versus tanks or artillery versus helicopters, each person has a chance to win. When you get to the sergeant game rank, then you're going to start deck building, and you're not going to know what the other person's going to be choosing. So I do want to point out that you don't need the mats to play. We made the 8 reference cards, which is the condensed versions of the detailed instructions, but the reason why there's 8 is by design. It's to set up that battlefield grid. A quick combat example is set up here that I have an artillery against an infantry and a tank. Now the artillery has a 3E, which means 3 exactly away. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but not any of the closer squares. Think of the arc of fire of artillery. So if I were to turn it to denote that I'm attacking and choose that square, can I attack an infantry unit? Yes, I can. I check the valid target icon bar. I can do 2 damage to that one. It goes away. No die rolls or nothing. It's all strategy based, not luck based. Now on the flip side, on the other side here, this card can move up 2 because of the 2 movement. It can shoot 2 away. 1, 2. Can it hit artillery? Yes, it can. So he shoots for 2, and this card goes away. Now, what does it mean when you have a sideways card? You can't shoot again. You can still move. And to win the game, you need an infantry or tank, so this card could actually still win. But how do you supply midfield? That's why we have supply units that are dark green. Right here is a supply unit. So now you have that spent tank. The supply unit can move up, turn, now the tank is supplied, and the tank goes off to fight his war, and then the supply comes back. So there's a supply chain. The supply units will be coming back and forth, back and forth. So in terms of Power and where we've been, I debuted at Gamma this year in March. Had everything printed and ready to go, and we got signed by Alliance. So then we went to Origins Game Fair, and we ran out of mats. I needed a second printing of mats, and then of course we went to Gen Con. It was fun beyond belief, and then we started going locally, going to Celesticon, and now I'm at SoCal Smackdown. So in all of those conventions that I'm up to 5 since March, I haven't seen that red light. Everything that's been happening is always go, go, go. So I keep with it, even so far as now we're going to go to an Air Sea expansion, and that's when we introduce the yellow BQs. I was showing you the green BQs that always move down every turn, but now these are conditional BQs, and that's conditioned on the construction battalion actually building your bases. Once you build the bases, then you can supply your jet fighters, your aircraft carriers, and all that stuff. And we thought ahead, and that's why we have on the mats the Air Sea lane with the Air Sea HQ. These are going to have a much larger range, and they attack onto the battlefield by row. So that's coming down the pike. It's kick-starting and needs to be in my hand by March of next year for Gamma. So make sure you come to powerthegame.com, sign into our newsletter, check out the cards. We have all the cards out there and the instructions, etc., and some demos that you can see online that we made. And thank you for looking at Packs of War, each rank. I'm P.K. Toretto, and this is Power. Any questions?
I gotta say, you've done a great history, and it looks like it's an amazing game. I'm curious, what is your favorite unit? Like
My favorite unit?
Yes, what is your favorite unit in all of this?
I'm going to say that is going to be the Cayuse.
The Cayuse?
Yes, the Cayuse. And let's go over here if we can.
Please tell me.
So right now you see all of the different pre-constructed balance packs. Here you have your anti-air pack. Here you have your helicopter pack. Here's your artillery. This is infantry, the supply pack, and the tank pack. All of these painstakingly is balanced against each other, but there's one card that I love, and that's this Cayuse right here. Still in service. A lot of them call it the Flying Egg. It's an air unit, right? Close air unit, so it only can be hit by SAMs. So you need some either Stinger SAM or SAM ADAT to get it. Otherwise, you're not going to hit it with a tank or infantry, etc. The reason why I like it is because it's a BQ1, and as I was explaining in these BQs, how long it takes for it to come in, right? So if I were to flip over a Cayuse right here, BQ1, it's in the next turn. So if you had a bunch of those and you sort of stacked them together, you only can do 1 damage. It's a 1 damage and 1 defense. But if I had 3 of those, I could take out an Abrams, which takes 3 turns to come in. But I could pop in 3 of those Cayuses. That would be very hard to use very hard to kill unless you had the SAM. So that's my favorite card is the Cayuse. Comes in quick and it's an air unit.
I got a question. On expansions, I see a lot of like U.S. units, a lot of more westernized. Are you thinking of like branching out to more of the different, like maybe Soviet era stuff, and maybe some of the older things from like World War II or even older than that?
Yeah. So we obviously we've done a lot of thought in terms of where we can go with this. The next one is Air Sea expansion. That is going to be U.S. so we can round it out. The running joke is what can go one-on-one with the M1A1 Abrams. There's really nothing in the world that can do that right now. So then Richard Borg, we love him, did Memoir 44 and the Command and Colors. He says, yeah, bring in aliens, have the aliens come down. And so it would be different in terms of themes, but then we started thinking, hey, the designer once said when we were making the submarine card, because could we have like a whale attack card? And I was like, well, we could have an animal deck, because the math still works. We have a grid and we have the Air Sea lane. We could really skin a lot of different themes. Right now we are sticking with US, and when we do, because it's a modern I should say present day theme, we're thinking instead of Soviets, Cold War, 1987, we're thinking of Chinese. And when we go to the Chinese, it's going to be very, very heavy on the politics and population. A lot of the buffs are going to be special cards that we have. And that's what we're thinking of. But that's after the Air Sea expansion Kickstarter, which is happening by the end of the year, so I have it in my hand in March. So Chinese is probably going to be the first theme pack to have the Chinese go against the U.S. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. We'll put out some feelers and see exactly what they want. I want to give the people what they want.
Thank you very much, PK. This looks like an amazing game, and I can't wait to try it. You have a great day.
You too.
And let's sail out.
All right. Thank you much.